What's up, and welcome to the Size Up by National Fire Radio. This is going to be another Pip Talk. Today, you just have me, which sometimes for Pip Talks, we're going to do just kind of a solo talk. And I like to think that with these, I'm just going to focus on one topic. Today's topic is kind of broad, I guess. I'm not really sure what the topic even is, but this past weekend was just Mother's Day weekend. And it was the first Mother's Day for me without my mom, because my mom passed away in December of 2022, just a couple days before Christmas. And so this Mother's Day was a little bit different. And I want to thank everyone that reached out to me, because it means a lot for sure, especially being, a few months removed from losing mom. But, you know, I didn't feel horrible, I guess is a good way to put it, or bad, for several reasons. And to give the folks out there listening who don't know me at all, obviously, a little backstory. My mother's death was, I can't use the word planned, but we knew what was going to happen. My mom had been suffering for about the past 5 to 7 years with dementia, and it had been worsening year by year. She was starting to forget more and things, but one of the things that happened last year, towards the end of the summer, was my mom had kind of a major medical event, and what we didn't know was that she actually had cancer as well. And it was just something that, it wasn't that we weren't going to the doctor, or, she was actually participating in a screening for dementia just to help change, dementia meds in the future. She was in a study. That's what I want to use or say there. But, just with her dementia, she never told us that she may have been having pain or some different medical issues. And we found out kind of in an emergent situation. And she underwent emergency surgery in the beginning of August, I think, or the end of July-ish, right around the end of the summer. And she was under anesthesia for an extremely long amount of time during the surgery, which is something that affects dementia patients as well in a negative way afterwards. But, after we had her cancer diagnosis, we kind of all decided as a family that we weren't going to treat her cancer, and that we were going to enter her into hospice care. So, that decision was not made lightly, but that's what, between my siblings and my father, and with even some input from mom, we were able to come to that conclusion. And I have to say too that it helps that my wife, Mrs. Pip, she is a physician assistant, and she, for the past 2 years, has been working specifically in palliative care. So I've had a sort of crash course into how palliative care works, how the hospice system works. And when you think about being an emergency service worker, we deal with death and dying as part of our just job. That's a part of it. And I've dealt with death and dying, and I've gone to calls where a family had someone on hospice, but they called 911, and they had a DNR there. And we did not work them. I've also had the flip side where they've called 911 and stated they've had a DNR on scene, and there wasn't one, and we sort of had to work the patient. But dealing with death, I knew, entering my mom into hospice was going to be hard, but I thought I had a really good grasp of how things worked, and just how I would maybe even feel. But it was a totally different experience when it's a loved one, extremely close to you. And it honestly, and I've said this a few other times, but her death was almost beautiful, because we had what I like to call these bonus months with mom, that we knew we were going to eventually come to an end. We didn't know when that was going to be, but her first few months on hospice were really amazing. She was able to get out and do a lot of things she wanted to do. My boys and I and Tracy were there, as much as we possibly could be, just kind of enjoying those moments. But you sort of know that this is going to be the last moment you have with the person, or my mom. I'm just gonna say my mom. You all can understand and relate this to yourself. But like my birthday, my 44th birthday was, I knew that was gonna be the last birthday I had with mom, and we made it, just a great moment between us. And it was something that my wife, being in the palliative business, I guess, we talk about death a lot. It affects her, her patients affect her, and now we were very close to home and dealing with this on our own, or together, not on our own, together. And the again, this process and the hospice system, the folks that worked for the hospice that we utilized were just some of the it takes a different person to do this job, to do that job is the easiest way to say it. Just like we say it takes a different person to do our job as emergency services providers. But these folks are just so compassionate. It's like overtly compassionate. And they help and guide you along this journey, with their patient as well. And having dementia, mom didn't always understand everything that was happening, and sometimes we weren't always as honest with her as to everything that was happening too, because you just can't be when your brain's not firing the way it used to fire, as an easy way to put it. But I was able, over those couple of months, to really have some time with my mom, where we had some amazing conversations. And one of them, about maybe about a month before her death, a little more than a month, where she was really having a great day. Everything was firing. Um, and it was just her and I. And I asked her if she knew what was going on with her, why she had an aide all the time and why these nurses were coming to the house. And she told me she did. And she told me that she was okay with it, and that she knew that we made this decision for her, but it was what she wanted, because even prior to um, her dementia diagnosis, I became my parents' healthcare proxy, which is, again, something that if you have elderly parents, you should definitely look into, because I am the one that makes the decisions for my parents. We decided that with a lawyer, and it was sort of, I can laugh about this a little now, but while we were in the lawyer's office, my father was like, yeah, my parents call me Robbie. They don't call me Pip. I was like, Robbie makes all those decisions. And the lawyer was like, yeah, but Russ, you have to physically tell me that. We have to make this legal and binding now. It can't just be Robbie makes the decisions. You have to tell me these specific decisions the way it's written in here. But with mom, she was okay with all that. And as things got closer, to her passing, as it goes, months turn into weeks, and weeks turn into days, and days kind of turn into hour long, you chunk some time together, like a shift, like a 6-hour shift. And then it just becomes hours until it finally becomes minutes. But those last few days for my family, I think, helped me even more be prepared for my first Mother's Day without mom. And I think what my message is in this Pip Talk is to everyone is, and my wife is actually presenting this weekend at a national conference about dealing with death, is that as a society, we have to almost normalize death. And there will always be tragedy when it comes to death, a very tragic death that could happen through a traumatic situation, an unknown death, any type of scenario like that. Um, that it's very hard to prepare for, obviously, but it's these moments that we can prepare for someone's death with them, and we can do it together, that will give us all a better understanding and possibly make those extremely tragic deaths a little more better to understand, because I truly feel that I walked with my mom until the end. And I did that with my father, my brother, my sister, my wife, my children, all of our friends and family that were with us, um, and are still with us here to support. But it just made for not such a bad first Mother's Day without her. And I'm definitely getting a little more emotional now, and I don't think I want to talk anymore. But I just hope that I've conveyed a little bit of a message here with this Pip Talk, as to saying the fact that we as a society, we as emergency service providers, although we think we have a lot of the answers when it comes to a lot of the things we deal with, we are still always constantly learning. And I'm still learning about how to deal with death. But being able to share that journey with my mom and with everyone else around was really amazing. And I kind of cherish those moments. And it made for almost a better feeling, to know that mom was okay with it, and she's always with me if I need her. Sometimes she haunts me because there's pictures of her that just appear everywhere. So I think that's her getting back at me for all those years of not maybe being the most well-behaved son, or ever not listening to her, ever listening to her, however that one goes. But I just think it's something I wanted to share today, with all of you. So until the next Pip Talk, this is Pip from the Size Up by National Fire Radio saying I'll see you next time.